Okay, let's dive into this. We have all been there, right? You're staring at a textbook or a blank page or maybe a list of chores you've been putting off. You know exactly what you need to do. But instead of just starting, you're stuck, locked in this weird battle with your own mind, a mind that wants to do literally anything else. Well, today, we're going to figure out exactly why that happens, and I'm going to give you a super powerful system to finally win that battle. It always starts so innocently, doesn't it? You've got your desk all set up, you're mentally prepped to be productive, and then that little whisper creeps in. You know what? Just 5 more minutes on my phone. Then I'll really get to work. It's a deal we make with ourselves, a little negotiation to put off the inevitable. But what happens next? You know what happens. Those 5 minutes, they just magically turn into 2 hours. And then you snap out of this weird trance, and you're wondering how you just spent a huge chunk of your day watching a deep dive video explaining why pigeons shake their heads when they walk. It sounds ridiculous, but come on, we've all been there. Now listen, this is the most important thing to get right off the bat. This is not a character flaw. You are not lazy. What's happening here is your brain is just operating exactly as it was designed to. It's running on its default setting, a program that's been hardwired into us for millions of years. See, you gotta understand, our brains are wired for one thing above all else: survival. Not for acing exams or hitting deadlines in the modern world. For our ancestors, comfort meant safety. It meant you had food and you weren't about to be eaten. But today, that same instinct sees comfort in Netflix and a bag of chips. So whenever you try to do something hard, something that takes real effort, your ancient survival brain just screams no and tries to send you on an easier, more comfortable side quest, like suddenly deciding you absolutely have to organize your spice rack. But here's the good news. We can override that old programming. Today, we are going to hack that primal, distractible part of your brain. We're going to call it the monkey mind, using a really simple but incredibly powerful 3-step system, the Lotus Method. And there's a reason it's called that. Just like a lotus flower can bloom beautifully even when it starts in the mud, our focus can do the same. This is how you take back control. All right, so how do we start? Step 1 is all about awareness. We're going to call it spot the trick. The whole goal here is to get really good at catching the little lies your brain tells you to keep you comfortable and safe. So what exactly is this monkey mind? Well, it's that part of you that's always restless, you know? It's always jumping from one thought to the next, constantly looking for the next easy, comfortable, distracting thing. It is the source of all our procrastination. And this monkey mind, oh, it's sneaky. It doesn't yell at you, it whispers. It gives you these little excuses that sound perfectly logical in the moment. You know, tomorrow is a way better day to start. Or, what's one more episode, really? Or, my personal favorite, I wonder who invented bubble wrap. I should probably Google that right now. It feels important. These are the lies. The moment, the very second you hear one of those whispers, you have to do something that's going to feel a little weird at first, but trust me, it is a game changer. You have to call it out. Say it out loud if you have to. Nice try, brain. You can't fool me. This simple little sentence, it completely interrupts that automated script that's been running your whole life. And this isn't just some weird mental trick. There's actually some cool brain science happening here. The act of spotting and naming that thought, of going, that's my avoidance instinct kicking in, it literally shifts the activity in your brain. It yanks the power away from that impulsive monkey mind and hands it over to your logical, rational brain, your prefrontal cortex. Once you see the trick for what it is, the excuse just loses all its power over you. Okay, so you spotted the trick. Awesome. But your mind is still kind of buzzing from all that temptation. So what's next? Well, that brings us to step 2, samurai stillness. The goal here is to reset your mental baseline before you even think about starting that hard task. Think about it like this. Imagine a samurai trying to fight, but he's just swinging his sword all over the place, totally out of control. He's never going to win, right? Well, that's our mind when we're constantly being bombarded with notifications and short videos and just endless stimulation. Our focus, our mental blade, it gets incredibly dull. So the protocol is to literally do nothing. I'm serious. Find a chair and just sit there for 5, maybe 10 minutes. The rules are absolutely non-negotiable. No phone, no music, no podcasts. Nothing. Your only job is to pay attention to your breathing. And at first, your brain is going to scream at you. This is so boring. That's actually a good sign. Just let it scream. And here is the magic. That feeling of boredom, that is the tool we're using to reset your dopamine baseline. Your brain has gotten used to a constant fire hose of easy stimulation. By just turning it off completely, you're starving it. And after 10 minutes of doing nothing, that boring textbook on your desk suddenly starts to look a whole lot more interesting. The water settles and your clarity comes back. And that brings us to the final, and maybe the most important step of all. You've spotted the lie, you've reset your mind. Now, how do you actually start the work? This is step 3, slice the task. And we're going to use a concept called the Kaizen principle. You know how most of us approach a big task? We act like we're operating a bulldozer. We look at this giant mountain in front of us, the entire project, the whole syllabus, and the sheer size of it is so intimidating that we just give up before we even start. Our brain just shuts down. Well, the Kaizen principle is the exact opposite of that. It's all about focusing only on the absolute smallest, most ridiculously easy first step you can possibly imagine. The goal isn't to conquer the whole mountain, it's just to dislodge one tiny little pebble. It's all about beating that initial friction of just getting started. So let's make this super clear. The bulldozer approach is thinking about writing the whole research paper. The Kaizen principle is just thinking about working for 10 minutes. The bulldozer is psyching yourself out about a brutal workout at the gym. Kaizen is just putting on your shoes. That's it. You make that first step so tiny that it's basically impossible to say no. And here is why this works so well. Your brain has this internal fear radar that sees big tasks as a threat, and that's what triggers procrastination. But it completely ignores tiny tasks. They just fly right under the radar. And the second you complete that tiny task, you put your shoes on, you read that first sentence, you get a little hit of dopamine. It's a small win, but it builds momentum. You've just tricked your brain into starting, and now you're off and running. And that brings us to the conclusion, which really ties this whole thing together. After all, we call it the Lotus Method for a very specific reason. You gotta remember, a beautiful lotus flower takes its time to push its way up through all that dark mud. You can't always see the progress that's happening under the surface. And if you get impatient and try to force it by pulling the petals open, you'll kill it. Well, your own growth works the exact same way. You have to be patient with the process. So your path to mastering these hard things is this simple, repeatable, 3-step loop. Number 1, catch the excuse your monkey mind is whispering. Number 2, sit in stillness to reset your focus. And number 3, slice the task into one tiny first step. What feels like torture today will become proof of your power tomorrow. So, I'm going to leave you with a challenge. Jump into the comments below and tell us, what is the one hard task you are going to tackle today using this method? Let's get a conversation going and hold each other accountable. Because every single time you follow these steps, you're watering that seed. You're pushing through the mud. You are actively choosing to grow. So remember this. I will bloom. Now, go get to work.